Hello everyone who joined us. I'm Olga Atamanova. Glad to welcome you to the Ukraine Media Center. We're going to talk about the situation in our energy system. Oleksandr Kharchenko, director of the Center for Energy Research, is with us. So we'll talk about present-day situation. We will start our conversation with the results of the last Russian attack. We see that the results are complicated for our energy system. We all bear the consequences. How can we cope with the consequences? I would say that the consequences are rather smaller than Moscow has counted on. So I would say that we have won this round. They were not able to reach the results that they set before themselves. They wanted to cut off from the energy system our nuclear power plants. They wanted to isolate Odessa to the maximum. They also wanted to try to hit again our heat power plants, and they also wanted to hit the systems, the lines that connect us to Europe. I think that we should not talk about this object by object, but to put it shortly, all the objects where they have the defense built are in a better condition than we expected. Yes, we have limitations, we have a complicated situation, but we don't have a much more serious problem. Of course, the temperature is going lower. We have now the deficit of energy, and I and other experts have said that when the temperature falls below zero, then we may feel the shortage of generation. And of course, besides, we have some regular repairs and renovations. And, the 4 or 6 hours of limitations that we have now is a very successful scenario. It could be much worse. And I would say that this was the latest big attack, because these attacks are happening every day. But yes, this was a large-scale missile attack. We are more or less used to drones, but the drones are hitting our generation and our power lines as well. So this is the situation for now. Let's talk about the challenges, short-term challenges. We understand that we live with those attacks and hits. Sooner, I think that they will not go away, and the occupier country will try to again hit our energy system, power system. But what are the other challenges that you see? I would say that the short-term threats are long-terms as far as we may remove them. The biggest problem is the deficit of generating power and generating capacities. Regrettably, even where they are restored to the level that they can work, but not to the maximum effect. So I cannot tell you that within 3 months, for instance, everything will be okay. It won't be okay. We are limited in our generating capacities at least for 3 or 4 years until we rebuild what we may rebuild. I don't know where power plants are going when they die, but I would say that heat power plants have worked out their limit, have lived out their limit. The hydroelectric plants will be restoring their capacity in spring. The nuclear power plants will continue to work to the level that they do now, but the biggest problem is that the enemy is hitting our power lines. And this will, of course, lead to the limitations in transporting and consuming power within the country. Everything will depend on the efficiency of the engineers of Ukrenergo who are restoring those power lines. I think that they are ahead of the rate of the tempo that Moscow is imposing on us. They do not let them achieve what they want. Another question is, of course, the schedule of outages. However, of late, the power in our homes is there more and more, but the temperature is lower. We're entering December. What do we have to prepare ourselves for? Well, of course, objectively, when the outside temperature is lower and the consumption of energy is rising, and it is rising by 20 megawatts as per 1 degree centigrade or lower. When the temperature is -5, even if there are no attacks, then some limitations are introduced. And now, of course, because of Russian attacks, some of the capacities are being restored again. They are being worked on. So I think that even if we have from -1 to -3, we will live with some limitations. I think that there will be 2 to 4 hours of limitations per 24 hours. By the end of the week, I hope we will be able to restore our power supply lines. But again, I say, if the temperature is above zero, then no limitations. If anything below zero, then 2 to 4 hours limitations per day. What about nuclear power plants? Are they able to compensate for the loss of energy? Well, nuclear generation can compensate or provide approximately a half of what we need. They're working to the capacity, to the maximum capacity, but even with our import of power, we cannot provide for all the needs. About the import, how we were able to increase it, do we have any potential? On the one hand, we have increased the opportunity and capacity to get power from Europe, and it is now even more than it was last winter, but the pricing situation in Europe is very complicated now, and we should understand that in Europe, especially in Eastern Europe, they do not have profit in electricity. And it is very often that the prices on the markets of our partners are higher than in Ukraine. Sometimes our import just stands still because we cannot buy power. And the energy market in Ukraine is very inefficient as far as organization is concerned, and the limitations and limits that are working there, it all impedes also some social responsibility that some companies have. And I think that it significantly distorts the, first of all, pricing situation. And soon, rather often, we see that there are limitations for consumption. However, the pricing is very far from good, and the National Commission for Regulation has a huge field to work on in order to transfer the market to the really transparent and efficient pricing system, which will, by the way, increase our opportunity to get power from Europe. We also see some messages from International Atomic Energy Agency. It looks like they visited our nuclear power plants to see for themselves the results of Russian attacks. What is their role now, and how it helps us? I will be honest, this is not the question to me, this is the question to those who organizes and realizes those missions. What do we understand? We understand that they do not visit the objects that are being hit, that the information through them is disseminated much wider than we would like to. And I think that it is evident that the attacks are being made according to the visits of IAEA Energy. Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. What is the situation then? Nothing has changed. Stable, complicated situation. The equipment degrades. There's a threat of blackout from time to time. How long will it be possible for them to hold in such regime without normal repairs? I cannot answer this question because no one in the world has tried something like this before. It is now far beyond the limits of the researched space for these objects. It is impossible to predict what's going on to happen. Thank you, dear colleagues. Will you be asking Anna Samara, Public Broadcasting, about the decentralization of power generation? How does this work, and how this program or this initiative is developing in Ukraine? What is the bonus for those who install such sources of energies? Do they get any privileges and benefits from the state apart from being able to provide for themselves? And what is the percentage of Ukraine that such decentralized generation can cover, especially when something goes out of exploitation as a result of enemy attacks? Rather a lot of questions. I will try to answer them. Let's say that at the moment something like 180 megawatts of decentralized capacities are working in Ukraine. This is 1/10 of percent. 1/10 of 1% of our peak consumption. So we cannot say that it significantly influences the state of our power system. Is there a chance that it will? Yes, the chance is there if we will be able to build something like 20 times as much as we have within a year or two. And this will, of course, help in some regions that feel the deficit of power supply. I don't know anything about the benefits from the state. You have to ask state bodies about this. Nechut. Are we talking about cogeneration stations, or we may talk about anything like sun panel or something? Well, everybody defines this in their own way. There's no stable definition of what we mean by decentralized generation. For me, as a person who works in power sector, says that it means two things. First of all, this works apart from the centralized objects and up to 50 megawatt, and then it can work when it receives a command, not when the wind blows or the sun shines. For me, I think it is a principle to understand that decentralized generation works when we need it, because on the 30th of December at 9 p.m., when there's no wind, some kinds of generation won't help us at all. As far as the rates of its installation, I would like to see them faster.
For your patience, Lorenzo Cremonesi from Corriere della Sera Italia. Two questions. Comparing to winter 2022-23, clearly you are much better. I remember we spoke regularly at the time. There was a moment in which you were zero. At one point you told us we cannot generate. We are practically out of the market. We don't have energy. It was very dramatic to remember. It was, I think, February, March 2023. It was dramatic. So can you tell us what happened? What were you able to do to improve? Because the Russians are still trying, as we know. This is the first question. The second, you told us something which I didn't know. You told us now that the energy coming from Europe is more expensive than the energy in Ukraine. I saw that Europe was giving you for free in the package of help. No, forget.
Let's start with second question. It's very simple. It's just a market price, nothing else. And it costs how it costs. And price is different each and every hour, but usually we need this electricity in it names peak hour, when the big consumption moving. It's a morning, it's a evening time, and now it's 180 euros per megawatt to 250 euros per megawatt. It depends of day, it depends of weather, it depends of market conditions, that many factors. But in between these two figures, usually in our neighborhood countries.
Just on this, how much overage, because it changed, but how much this European energy represent in the economy of your full capacity of production?
You mean which part in Ukrainian energy mix import became?
You have 100 energy. How
Yeah?
much is coming from Europe?
5%. From 5 to 10%. It depends of situation, usually from 5 to 10. And about first question, one thing which no one can predict, how fast we will restore our generation capacity. First of all, coal generation hardly damaged and really hardly damaged in this springtime. In March and April, it was several waves of attack to generation capacity, and no one can predict. Even me was very skeptical in June or July when I calculated what we will have in winter time. My calculation was wrong, and I missed like 25-30%, and 25-30% restored up of my prediction. Because Ukrainian engineers who work with this equipment, who did this stuff, they really created a lot of absolutely unique solution, how to restore some capacity, how to reconfigure some capacity, damage to be more effective, to work in winter time. And I really want to say you that it's unique. It's no one in the world did something like this. And now it's operational, which has to be no operational at all. Theoretically, any engineer from Italy, from Italian energy company, when he will visit this object, he will say it's not operational, but it's working and it's produce electricity. This is one part, and another part is very effective work of Ukrenergo, who really restore the system, restore the high voltage power grid, and make a huge reserve and make a very good preparation for this winter. They did reserve of equipment, they train their staff, they create a lot of scenarios how to react to different type of attack and different type of damages. And it's also absolutely unique experience and absolutely unique track to deliver. I will give you one very small example. Before the war, to install auto transformer 330 kilovolts, usually in Ukraine we spent 9 months. In average in Europe, you will spend near 1 year. Now they did it in 3 weeks. 3-4 weeks in average. That's to present you difference with usual practice and what they're doing right now.
Дякую. Чи є ще питання, колеги?
Any other questions, colleagues? Doug, yes.
From NHK, Japanese Public TV. If I understand correctly, from 18th of November, that planned outage started in the whole Ukraine. You said that the Ukraine defended very well against the large-scale attack from Russia. Could you tell us the reason why that the planned outage had to start? Is it because of damage to power lines, or is it because of a temperature decrease? Thank you.
First of all, let me say in your face thank you for Japan people and Japan government for all support provided. I really think that Japan government provides the most effective support for energy industry in Ukraine through all our partners. And I just want to say you thank you in this case. And about your question, situation, it's kind of mix. You know, when you have 120 missile, and when you have 100 drones in one way to attack your energy system, and in average, each and every day you have 30, 40, 50 drones which attack your energy system. It's very hard to supply in full scale. That when I say we are well defended, it means that even in many objects where we have our high voltage power grid heated like for 3-4 missiles, and some our generation station also heated, but they still operational. Because defend work well. Because we have some fortification, we have some anti-drone well-fire, we have that. A lot of preparation works well and help us minimize the damage which provided by this attack. And second part, why we still need outage, because anyway we have some damages. It's not possible to defend everything for 100% in so huge scale of attack, just impossible. You can't make a warranty that nothing heated, something always heated. That's why we have this limitation. And another part, of course, is that temperature go down and it makes situation more complicated. And all these factors together move us to position when we need this rolled blackouts or outage, you name it. And I'm sure we will need it more or less through all the winter when temperature is below 0 Celsius. Something like this.
Дякую вам. Є ще питання, прошу.
Thank you. There are other questions as well.
From the U.S. business magazine Semaphore. You mentioned pricing reform for the electricity sector. Are there other steps that you think regulators or the energy ministry or other officials could take that would help kind of, especially to speed up the adoption of distributed energy, as my colleague was talking about, or whether that's renewables or small gas plants, or what else could the government be doing to speed up the kind of reconstruction process, getting more investment into there?
I think the main factor here is really reform of electricity market itself. Nothing more a lot Ukrainian government can do. Because another part which can be done from the side of our partners. What is limitation now? What is main limit to invest to this part of generation in Ukraine? It's in practical way, it's political war insurance. A lot of investors theoretically want to help Ukraine in different way, and they want to do some impact in this case. But without political war insurance, without simple procedure to apply to political war insurance and to make a warranty that your money will not be destroyed, just destroyed, no one will came. It's like very clear situation. That in my mind, it will be times more effective mechanism not to provide us some, I don't know, equipment and which is always a point of discussion, which kind of equipment has to be provided, how fast it can be delivered, all that stuff. Provide political war insurance for investors and warranty for loans. Give private business option to go to Ukraine, to build new capacity and to generate electricity and sell it. You have not only Ukrainian market in this case, you have as well a European market in this case. You are able to export electricity and to make money in European market as well. But to open this window really, it has to be political war insurance and availability of loans in fast track. Because usual track is 1 year to take insurance, half of more year to take a loan after this insurance. And then you will start buy equipment, and equipment is not something which you create from the air. That 1 more year to produce equipment, and it already takes 3 years. And 1 year for installation, it's 4 years. But we need the generation faster. And here is, of course, Ukrainian government has to do homework and to fix electricity market prices and to create condition for investors to make their investment simpler and faster. But from other side, I'm absolutely sure the Ukrainian government has not enough resources to provide political war insurance in full scale, and as well don't have enough, I could say, financial ratings to provide really trustable political war insurance. Everyone will have, oh, it's Ukrainian government insurance, it's not very stable, they at war. If it will be European Union political war insurance, American political war insurance, which is already available but with very long procedure. Make it faster, guys.
Дякую, Олександре, дякую вам за цю розмову.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you for this conversation. Oh, another question.
Can you say a little bit about, we spoke already about the existing nuclear fleet. What opportunities, if any, do you see for expanding into new nuclear plants? I think this is something that I've heard the energy minister talk about wanting to do, whether it's kind of big plants or SMRs, kind of advanced nuclear. What do you kind of see as the future for that sort of generation here?
Let's start with SMR. I really very hope that first SMR in the world will start somewhere in 2035, and maybe after 5-7 years after that we can think about real installation in Ukraine, that it will not help us with rebuilding in wartime or after the war. When we are talking about like conventional solution, big scale reactors, last 2 reactors in US was built in 15 years. 17 years. Last one was 17 years and $15 billion. Last in Europe, 18 years and $18 billion in Finland. That, you know, I'm not believe that nuclear fleet can be expanded fast enough. I'm very big fan of nuclear energy. I believe that it's a good, highly technological solution without CO2 emission, and it has to be developed, but it will not help us in 3-5 years. It's the longest perspective.
Дякую за цю розмову. Дякую, що долучились.
Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for joining us. Oleksandr Kharchenko, the director for the Energy Research Center, was with us. We will work further for the sake of our victory. We thank our defense forces for this opportunity. Thank you for being with us. Glory to Ukraine.